Amanda's breakups lasted longer than the relationship.
I was single way more than I was in a relationship. I saw some of my interactions with previous exes as games.
I think, you just have to experience that crazy, thrilling love where it's a little bit up and down. You're addicted to the cycle a little bit. Being in that situation has taught me a lot. I became very not as conscious about wearing my heart on my sleeves and just voicing my feelings and opinions.
Yeah. I came out of every single relationship thinking like there must be something wrong with me.
Would you want me to just get a divorce down the line because I settled for someone who wasn't making me happy? Being in your 30s is a bit more freeing because you just don't give a as much.
Hi everyone.
Welcome to this week's episode of Trying Very Hard. Today we're talking about relationships, dating, love, and I guess the stark contrast between like what that was in your 20s versus now in your 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that I want to ask everyone, and I'm going to ask Amanda, what were you looking for in relationships in your 20s? Do you remember? I actually think for the both of us, we were never superficial daters.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think across the board, there's like a base level of attraction that you need to have. And even though we may not have had like check boxes for like, oh, this person's like height and like, those things, like it's hard to escape that. Yeah, but I don't think we were so superficial in the choices that we had.
I think there was a slight difference in terms of when you were younger, maybe in teens, and maybe in your 20s. There was a slight cool factor of attraction. Like if this person's considered like cool, sociable, right? You're a little bit more attracted. Meanwhile, in your 30s, like there aren't really groups and categories for like
cool,
who's cool
and uncool.
Yeah. Like if anything, like your quirks make you a bit more interesting. Your slightly more different interests makes you more unique.
Yeah.
Which then makes you more attractive. So maybe that's one, I mean, for me at least, that's one difference is that like cool is not as much of a factor.
I feel like I put a lot of weight into like first interaction and whether or not there was, I wouldn't say it's spark, I wouldn't go that far, but like initial good banter or curiosity.
This was in your 20s?
In my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking about when I met Tom, I did not think of him in a relationship way at all. I thought actually he was a frat star. And he lived in the States. I was in Singapore at the time. So actually, like, it wasn't even in my realm of possibility to consider this person. I had no idea if he was attracted to me either. But there wasn't this, like, initial spark.
Yeah.
It was
like,
very...
oh my God, I really like this person.
And it wasn't until maybe a year after we had met that I thought, oh, actually, maybe I can see myself dating this person. I started to appreciate the slow burn much more than like the initial like charm and burst of like excitement about a person. I think that came much later for me and Tom, for me, only after I started really picturing him in a relationship light.
I feel like that's kind of a swap with
me.
You. Well, with me, it's like, I think all of the previous relationship that I'd gone into was a little bit of a slow burn. Like, I had to make sure that you're a decent human being. Like, I was never attracted to, like, that initial spark. For me, it had to be, like, I'd have to be friends with you for a long time. But I think it was also me being cautious of, like, what other people around me would perceive. And I think that was me in my 20s. I was more cautious of, like, I don't want to be dating around. Like, the person that I'm dating has to be like a pretty stand-up guy that I won't get burned in the end. Yeah. And be embarrassed, Yeah,
I feel like you've always dated very sensible people.
Yeah. Yeah. Until one. And then until one. Yeah. I guess that leads us more into like, okay, growing up in an international school community, there was a stark contrast between like our family being Chinese Indonesian household. And like this like international school TCK world. Wanted to ask like what version of love, because they're slightly different, did you grow up with or that you believed in? And
Yeah.
has that stuck?
Yeah. So early on, you mentioned pop culture or, just media in general having
Yeah.
an influence on our perceptions of
Yeah.
love. I think that definitely had a role, but also just being in a more open, progressive, Western school environment. There's a lot that I drew from that as well. And
Yeah.
a lot of the people around us, even in middle school, were pretty open and wanting to date.
Yeah.
And my parents, since I was very young, kind of as a joke, but also not as a joke, would always say things like, oh, you can't date until you're 21.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, they didn't end up like holding me to this 21 number,
Yeah.
but they didn't love the idea of knowing that my friends were dating other people or
Yeah.
dating people at 12, 13, even
Or
though
that,
at the
like, some
time
of our friends were
it's like
having-
holding hands.
Some of our friends were having like sleepovers with their boyfriends.
Yeah. Oh. Wait, in high school.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, even as an adult, like saying that I would travel with Tom at like 25 years old, guys. I would have to convince my parents that it was
Not.
okay and I can take care of myself and all of this stuff. But even in like middle school, high school, whatever that boundary was that at that age kids were pushing,
Yeah.
whether it was sleepovers or even in middle school, just like going to a school dance with a
Yeah.
date. My parents were like, why do you
Who
need
would
to do
pick
that?
you up?
Why can't you just go with Monica? Like, and have fun with your friends. And I remember distinctly my first boyfriend, Mitch.
Shout
Hey,
out.
Mitch, hopefully you're listening to this. We're friends now, so it's okay. But yeah, Mitch was my first boyfriend in 8th grade. We dated for all of 2 weeks because my parents told me to break up with him.
Yeah.
And and I remember thinking at the time, I think there was some sadness there because, first breakup. But also I think I was just more annoyed that everyone at school was able to date and here I am with parents that don't let me date. And I was a good kid that listened to my parents, so.
How did they find out that you were dating somebody?
So I told my mom told my dad, but I
Like you one day went home and be like, Mom,
the
I have
day,
a boyfriend.
the day, not excitedly. It was like I know
Warning.
she's not gonna like this.
Oh wait, you were such a good kid.
I was a very good. I'm still a very
She is.
good kid.
She is.
But the relationship I've had with my parents has always been very open and honest, and I've actually really liked that. So every time I have shared about a relationship development, I am open about it.
Yeah.
Not 100% excited. I expect some level of discernment and
Yeah.
pushback and maybe some skepticism, but I've always told them. And fortunately, I don't think their reactions are immediately break up with the person. But my dad did sit me down a week and a half after I told my mom.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Why are you dating a boy in 8th grade?" No, we don't, you don't do this. Just
interesting.
break up with him. And then I did.
Good kid.
Good kid. Yeah, I think the Asian expectations or my parents' expectations of relationships and dating and love very much stood in stark contrast to the environment that we were in at school.
Yeah.
Which was arguably the most liberal school in Jakarta,
Yeah.
Indonesia. Yeah. What about you?
No, I think I just had a very different, to you maybe a little bit more conservative, but my parents aren't conservative, but in terms of sharing about these things, right? And I feel like even now as an adult, you probably notice this of me too. I don't openly share about relationships. Back me into a corner and I'll tell you.
It's true, guys.
And so, yeah, I think that was the difference was that I wouldn't openly share with my parents until I'm or until they're like, who are you going to dinner with all the time? Why are you coming home so late? You know? And then I'm like, oh, yeah. Or even with the most recent one, they're like, why are you going to California again? I'm like, I don't know how to get around this. And it was only because I had to tell them I'm not going to be in town these dates, so don't come to Singapore if you want to see me.
What's the longest you've gotten away with not telling your parents that you're in a relationship?
could be like at least half a year.
Okay, maybe my standards are very off.
Yeah.
Mine was a week.
I just don't share about these things.
Oh. What is, like, what's stopping you?
It's just so awkward to bring up. Even amongst my friends, it's so awkward. Like, I'm not hiding it, but like, yeah, whatever.
I wonder where that comes from. Is it like a family? Are other people in your family also like this?
I think so when we were younger. Like, it's never announced, like, hey, I'm dating somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I guess is actually generally your style with...
Yeah.
Like, in many different areas of life.
Yeah.
I don't think it's specific to relationships.
Was the problem with your 8th grade boyfriend just the timing? Or was it also, like, cultural factor? Like, if he had been... He was pretty similar. I mean, at least he was Chinese.
Yeah. So I think in 8th grade, it was definitely just an age, maturity. Like, why, if anything, focus on your studies.
Yeah.
But I think every time I dated someone that wasn't Chinese, and I guess I didn't date someone Chinese until Tom 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think they would always highlight, like, hey, you know, if you date someone that's like outside of our culture, family integration will be much harder. Like, your values might be very different, even though you and this one person, this one boy, may get along well. At the end of the day, like, you're also trying to integrate into their family system or their cultural system, right? So even though I'm not the most conservative person, I value family enough that I do see marriage as hopefully a marriage of families.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I would want to. They would say all of these things. And I think at the time when you're like, definitely when you're in high school, but I think even in your 20s, you're kind of like, but maybe I can get away with it. Or, you're
just like, it'll all work out. Like,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So long as neither sides are like super extreme and a bit more, I guess, liberal, then they're more open-minded to the idea of like a interracial or interreligion.
Yeah.
marriage.
I think interreligion, my parents might have been a bit more because this gets at
A lot of
things. It gets at values, it gets at the traditions that you're going to raise your
that's true.
kids with. If you raise your kids in a mixed religion household, like, what's that going to look like? And depending on what country you're in, things could get very dicey.
Yeah.
But maybe you have more to comment on that.
I had a different faith.
Interfaith relationship.
Interfaith relationship. I didn't think of it as that much of a problem, but my parents definitely did, and I think his parents probably were conscious of it too, because it was just not that they ever asked me to like fast during Ramadan. Like, it doesn't get to that, and I think it wasn't that serious. But as in terms of like, you know, certain traditions, they'd ask me to partake or like wear more traditional clothing or like wear a head covering. And I was just so uncomfortable with that because I felt like it's not my usual look. I'm uncomfortable with it, and it makes me feel like I'm turning back on my own beliefs and my own family. Even though it's as simple as just like, just wear like a very see-through head covering just to be more modest.
Yeah. Well, I imagine
And
it
like
feels
Catholics
like
also do that too, technically, in church, but like I wasn't brought up that way, and I was so conscious because I knew how it would affect my mom, especially. It was a relationship, but it was not like an engagement or like a marriage. I was already doing those things. Then I feel like she would then think about like, okay, then if they were to get married, I would completely lose my daughter.
Yeah. I can understand. I mean, I think my parents would have the same, like a similar fear.
Yeah.
Interfaith is much harder. But I think early on what it sounds like too is I imagine it just sounded like doing all of these things and following, I don't know, whether it's like how they're supposed to dress or how you're supposed to dress in a particular context is kind of misrepresenting yourself.
Yeah.
I understand wanting to do those things out of respect.
Yeah.
But as a person, you also want people to know what you stand for.
Yeah.
Right, and what you believe in. And I think it's very difficult when you're having to go through certain rituals or...
And I think I was also myself thinking long term, like, I don't want them to think that if at this point
I'm willing to do this.
I'm willing to do this, then like I'm willing to
convert
everything. And I knew in my heart that I wasn't, because it would just feel weird to adapt a new religion for the sake of being married to somebody.
Yeah. Or it's a long process.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
it's not something that you assume.
If you were to change religion, it has to come at your own realization. For me, like that was never a thought.
Yeah.
But I feel like as I've gotten older, this is where like the shift in your 30s, like for me, my parents' values or ideals of love or who you should marry, like the fact that they're, it makes sense on paper, culturally not too different, stable, safe, consistent. Like I feel like that is making more sense to me in my 30s now. I don't know if you feel that way, versus like the Western love that we see on TV where it's like love at first sight, this like you spiral when you're not with
love
them.
Can conquer anything.
Yes, like they can be at ends of the world and somehow
from different worlds, culturally, all of this
also
stuff.
Like back then growing up, like they didn't have social media, right? So they would maybe do like a phone call once a week.
Yeah.
And then go on about their day.
Yeah.
I feel like that is far more distant than the more sensible kind of love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, again, I think when my parents, as a young adult, voiced their concerns about cultural differences in values and family integration and all of that stuff, I would kind of just shrug those things off.
Yeah, thinking like, whatever, like they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't understand, and like the relationship is good and it's easy enough, and like in our own little bubble, things are fine. Even with my friends, like it seems like they get along.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older and realized important family level integration is, it's made things honestly a lot easier. That one, Tom's generally like family culture is close enough to mine.
Yeah.
And two, that he also values him and his family also value family.
Yeah.
Right? It's so important, and I appreciate being welcomed into a family so much more than I ever could have imagined 10 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Growing up, did you ever make like a list of like, this is the kind of person that I want to marry? This is my ideal man. I've definitely had that in my teens.
Okay, I don't know that I had
in my 20s I did, when I was like going through a breakup, and I'm like, this is the kind of man I want. This is what this person's missing.
I don't know that I had an ideal person, but I did have a list of non-negotiables.
Okay.
So maybe let's start with your type or your ideal that you came up with.
Oh, not that I ever followed it, but as you were like writing out your ideal man, because I'm tall, I would put like tall, athletic, good at basketball, smart, funny, kind.
Wait, those first three are definitely superficial.
No, I know. But like I never but this is like as I'm drawing my ideal man, right?
Yeah.
So then
not that you necessarily searched for that and like excluded
but, like,
people outside of that.
If somebody were to land in front of me,
like as a profile, like this is what I would want. Okay, yeah.
Obviously, I'd put like handsome, good looking.
Wait, and then you were getting to the less superficial stuff of like kind and
I would want somebody who's like kind, generous, caring, thoughtful, patient.
Smart, passionate,
hardworking, humble, but like charismatic. Because I think I like confident. Yeah, confident but not arrogant.
Lots of things.
I mean, I was trying to make sure that my exes did not measure up to this.
Yeah. Your list is somewhat similar to non-negotiables.
Okay.
Actually, because some of the things that you said, I think were also on my list in my 20s. I remember when I started dating Tom, the 5 things that I had were, this person doesn't necessarily need to be, like, have the best job or be the smartest person, but I really want him to be passionate about something and want to pursue it. Or feel a sense of like determination or fire for this particular thing. Or I wanted someone who was kind, and specifically kind to like service staff and stuff like
no,
that.
that's
That
so
was
important.
something that I like really looked out
And you know
for.
what? I was just talking about this earlier today. Kind is a level deeper than nice,
Yeah,
right?
they're different. I actually don't give nice much like weight
Yeah, I'm like,
because it's
oh.
not hard to be nice.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
kind is like genuinely that, like kind to everyone, like
Yeah, it comes from a deeper place, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, but this person, like, if he's not kind, no. If this person's not passionate, no. I also wanted a person who fit in well with my family, and himself valued family. I wanted someone who fit in well with my friends.
Yeah.
Because actually, I realized after my relationship before Tom how important that was.
Sorry, we made it hard.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like it's a very adult thing to do, especially when you eventually find your friends who you know are your people and who know you well,
Yeah.
and who are really only there to support you and be on your
Yeah.
team.
And have
right?
been there for you through all your like phases.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, some of these guys are just there for like
Yeah.
a period.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, there definitely is, in the early stages of a relationship, however long or short that is, like, there is this honeymoon period,
Yeah.
right? And you are making things seem, in your head, things are probably way rosier than they are in real life. And I think if you trust who your friends are, then actually their feedback should mean something.
Yeah.
And I think in the relationship before Tom, I didn't quite listen to that as soon or as seriously as I wish I had. And so the approval of my friends when I started dating Tom was really, really important to me. And that he liked them and vice
Yeah.
versa.
So that
right?
you wouldn't have to choose.
It's so hard to choose between your partner and
Yeah.
your family, or your partner and friends.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so isolating when you do have to do that. And so that was for sure at that point in my life a non-negotiable.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And then the last one, which has definitely changed, is I wanted someone actually who would challenge me in my faith. And I grew up
Wow.
Christian,
Okay.
and had felt like at that point in my life I had kind of strayed away from the Christian path. And so I was actually hoping that the next person I dated would be someone to challenge me in that way. And I think Tom challenged me too hard, and now I am
He succeeded. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. Well,
No.
we're
I
we're
feel
not
like
the
it's a-
most religious for sure. Yeah,
But that could also change, and you're open to that changing
yeah,
as
yeah,
Yeah.
But those were my 5, and I realized like I think they were good for that time in my life, but they've definitely changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure your ideals have also changed, and so maybe okay, let's talk about that. So that was us in our 20s.
Yeah.
That led us to whatever relationships we've had and whatever relationships we're in today.
Yeah.
What are your non-negotiables now? Are there more of them? Are there less of them?
I feel like I had a funny flip and then I flipped back. I had a lot of pretty stable relationships. Like since high school, right? Like
Yeah.
all of them were like really kind, caring, thoughtful. Got along with my friends.
Yeah.
I think, you just have to experience that like crazy kind of
Thrilling.
thrilling like love where it's a little bit up and down. You're addicted to the cycle a little bit. Like the attention would give you such a high, but then the pullback would kind of lead you to spiral.
Yeah.
And so I think at one point I was like, oh, this is what love is supposed to feel like. This like
Passionate,
and
intense.
pure infatuation.
Yeah.
It'd be like thrilling, and like the high is high because you don't know when you could lose it again. You know what I mean? So you're always like chasing for it. And then I realized that was so exhausting. Like I think I was just trapped in this cycle because I was in that cycle.
Yeah. Do you think that came from actually like having to get that out of your system? Because you're right, like prior to that relationship, all of your even in high school, I feel like you had such a mature relationship, you
Yeah.
could get
Yeah.
at that point in your life or at that age.
Yeah.
Right?
But I felt like, I think also, not that I felt like whoever I was with always liked me more, but as in it was the first time where I felt like I was in a deficit and I was working towards bettering myself and like chasing this person. Being in that situation has taught me a lot, which I think you would agree, and we'll talk about later on, is that like I became very not as conscious about wearing my heart on my sleeves and just voicing my feelings and opinions
Yeah.
as well. And I think that comes with like being in your 30s. But being in that, I'm always like, because this other person is so much more non-communicative than I usually am. I'm usually the non-communicative one.
Yeah.
That I was
And that
forced
was
to
enough.
communicate.
And that was enough in previous relationships.
I didn't have to confront anything because they'd confront me for anything, right? But in this new one, I had to confront. But I feel like that was actually a good thing to experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it's something that everybody needs to experience once in their life. Like someone told me everybody has this crazy love once.
Yeah.
You kind of like get it out of your system.
And some people multiple times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad that some of the things that you learned coming out of that were around like wearing your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And being open. And because I do think it's a really difficult lesson to learn when you're the one being chased all the time. And I don't think that that's the healthiest relationship to be in either, where you feel especially secure because this other person is like adores you.
Yeah.
Like obviously you want that, but like you want to be equally open and equally adore this person and like equally shameless.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about comparing my relationships, maybe not 20s versus 30s, but like relationship with Tom versus previous relationships, was I think I saw some of my interactions with previous exes as like games. And not that, like, I don't think they were necessarily playing or toying with me. Like,
we
I
were
think
just
it was
young,
just all
like-
in my head. But for things as small as, like, double texting.
Yeah.
Or, like, okay, this person has, like, it's been 20 minutes since I got a message from him. And so I'm going to wait 22 minutes, whatever, right? 22 minutes before I reply to him, even though I'm ready to reply the moment I get
like,
this
I already know what
message.
I'm going to say. I've drafted it
Yeah,
even.
yeah. But I just felt like, it like would increase my worth in some way to not be so shameless and too eager or too desperate. I think I associated a lot of showing love and expressing love and being the first to do something or say something as acts of desperation. And it was only in my relationship with Tom, maybe because he was this way, right? Like he's a pretty, I don't know when he's going to come on the show, but he's a pretty like shameless, goofy
Really,
guy.
whatever.
Right? And so I think I felt really disarmed and safe enough in this particular relationship from the get-go, like even when we were friends, to like double text him or to like, I don't know, share embarrassing stories about myself. And I think that brought such an ease and playfulness to the relationship. Like I felt so much more authentic and genuine and able to share what was actually on my mind. And these are such important things.
And just
in
like
relation-
if you're annoyed or at something, instead of like ignoring them for days on end, you just be like, hey, I was
or waiting for them to like
notice
figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just say it. In the previous one, I was doing things like that. I'm like, how are you as a 30-year-old? Like looking back, I'm like, yeah, I'm on my phone. I see the message.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm not going to reply because this person doesn't reply that quickly anyways, you know?
You don't even like it about yourself.
No.
Yeah.
Because
I
I'm
remember
the kind of
I
person,
hated
like,
that
I'm
about
always
myself.
on my phone.
Yeah.
So I would respond to you normally when I see it, if I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not occupied.
So the shift from like playing games to losing ego and being shameless and wearing my heart on my sleeve, that was definitely something that I observed and I think is so, so, so important.
I mean, it's
to
just
learn and practice
so
in a
relieving
relationship.
to not have to just be yourself.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person who doesn't text, then like fine, right? It's
Yeah.
not that much of a mind
Yeah.
game for you. But
But
for
it
people
is
like us,
it is like being someone else. Like you
Yeah.
are having to be inauthentic in some way
Yeah.
because you are on your phone.
Yeah.
You are seeing this thing and thinking of this
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
right? And holding back on telling him.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's not fun. That's like really
No,
tiring
it's not
actually.
fun.
Yeah. How do you feel in this relationship?
Good, easy.
Mm.
Myself, I don't have to like think that much to like curate myself how I am. Yeah, I can be as odd, goofy, weird as I want to be.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And actually, we spoke about it pretty recently in terms of like why he also invested time despite moving. He was moving from Singapore to California like 2 weeks later, except I was traveling for a long period a week after. So we spent pretty much that entire week every night together, just literally like talking, hanging out, getting to know one another. And then, yeah, after that, at the end of my trip, I decided I was going to fly and meet him in California.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. I guess I asked him, I was like, why did you want to like invest in like this, right? Like before moving, for somebody who would find like moving to a new place exciting. And one of his things was that like, because you weren't playing games with me, you were willing to invest the same amount that I was willing to invest in. So if I had been playing games, if I didn't wear my heart on my sleeve, if I didn't share any of how I felt, it would have turned out very different.
I mean, even hanging out every day with a person, like that could be perceived as like, well, you're like trying too hard or you're desperate, right?
But I think it was both just like, okay, we enjoy each other's company. Let's try to make the most of it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have possibly a hot take on starting relationships long distance.
She successfully.
Yeah, so Tom and I also started long distance. We did about a year, New York, Singapore. And when you start a relationship long distance, there's really not much in it for either person unless they're very serious about it, right? It's not like you start your relationship together and then you get all of the benefits of being in a no distance or short distance relationship and then you have to make long distance work, right? You miss out on all of that early stuff and you start with the crap of, okay, I have to like wait till he wakes up at this time and we don't get to like really spend time together or it's a big effort to meet and things like that. And so, and the effort that both sides put in when you're doing long distance is so visible.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it's also like, what's the point of continuing this?
Yeah.
Right? That's also very clear.
Like, it's not convenient.
It's not convenient at all. Like, the effort needs to be there. The effort needs to be obvious and aligned.
Yeah.
Communication needs to be strong as well because there's a lot that can be lost in translation when you're not in person and texting half the time.
Yeah.
And just texting half the time. And if you've been doing long distance for long enough and co-location is something that you're both still very eager to do and want to do and you're not just waiting for this other person to do it, like you both are planning for it, like what better signs could you have?
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And also it's like, it really forces you to get to know each other and talk about the hard things up front because you're both like, the way that we say is like we were working on a timeline, on a strict timeline, right? So like get it all out and like don't bullshit about it.
Because what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? If these things aren't out in the open and known and agreed upon.
And if it doesn't work, what do you lose? Like this person is not fully integrated in your day to day.
Yeah. But if you're going to be like investing in this relationship, then all of that stuff to clear out of the, like to clear early on going into long distance is so important.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, like, what's the point? You spent a decent amount of time in your 30s as a single person. or sort of just like dating.
Yeah.
What was that experience like compared to the times you've been single in your 20s? Like, has there been a difference in terms of like how lonely or isolating the feeling might be, or is there a freedom in it now, knowing now that you're more established in your life? Like, I imagine that there's quite a difference dating in your 20s versus your 30s, or being single in those periods.
I think it's a lot of that. I want to say that even in my 20s, I wasn't dating that much. Like, I was single, but I've never been the kind of person who dated around that much. I was very much like a single or relationship kind of person. But in the times that I was single, I think being single in your 20s is less lonely than in your 30s. Because you had a lot more friends who were also at that stage of life. Right? So if anything, those in a relationship were like, either they're super volatile relationships where they're like on, off, which I think a lot of my friends were in, and that's what put me off. Like, I'm so exhausted for you guys. Like, I don't want to be in this. I'd rather be like alone and have my peace of mind. So in your 30s can be lonelier, especially when like a lot of your friends are in like these very stable long-term or marriages, right? And so I feel like sometimes certain people, you including, third, fifth wheeling, I'm like, fine, whatever, I don't care. I'm actually inviting myself to hang out with you guys, right? But sometimes there are times where I'm like, I don't really feel like being the only single one at this dinner table. That I'd remove myself. Or sometimes like you're not invited to couple activities, right? But then like you find out about it after. It's not lonely, but you just feel left out in some way. Like, I'd like to have the option to say like, no, I can't attend. Like, I was not even considered as an invite. So I guess that's the lonelier aspect. Instead of freeing, I feel like being in your 30s is a bit more freeing because you just don't give a fuck as much. I'm a lot more secure in who I am. So it's more freeing in that sense where I'm like, I'm just going to be me.
And like you have your routines, you have your...
like if you don't
you're so much more established.
Fine. You know, whereas in my 20s, I might be trying to adapt to that.
Like you're a bit more ready to shapeshift if you need to. Being in your 30s as well, was there any sense of timelines and biological clock that made you feel discouraged or pressured in any way?
Of course. But I feel like that went out the window for me pretty early on. Like, I thought with the boyfriend I had in my 20s, that would have been who I ended up with. Because, again, it was stable. Like, I couldn't really picture it going too wrong. And so I had in my mind thinking that, like, I'd be married by late 20s. But, like, when that relationship didn't work out, I feel like I threw that out. Do you remember this joke that we had? It was actually during COVID, I think. You had just started dating Tom. Jess had gone through a breakup. And we were all like, Mon, you're going to get married first. We spoke about this, and I was like, guys, I don't know why we gave numbers to ourselves. We're like, Jess is starting at 0. Like, Mon's at 2, Man is at 1.
Mon is ahead, guys.
And then I told you guys, I'm like, yeah, but if this doesn't work out, I'm basically at -2, you guys. I remember this conversation distinctly, and I think that's like when the breakup happened, that's when I just like threw all expectations of timelines.
So at that point, when you were in that relationship, you were like, okay, I'm going to get married.
Probably like I'll go back, maybe figure logistics or whatever out, but like not long after, because by that point we'd been together by, 3 years? And it was like, I felt like pretty well integrated, despite interfaith difference, but like pretty well integrated with each other's families.
I mean, from the outside, it seemed really stable.
And like got along with each other's friends quite well, all those things. But when that didn't happen, I was like,
it doesn't matter now.
Timelines.
Okay. And the idea of like kids, because there is a biological clock around that, and we'll have a conversation about that some other time, which is a huge topic of kids. And but like, did that factor into the pressure? Not
really. There was slight pressure, obviously, from like parents. Because I think technically I was in a non-relationship for like, what, 5 years? And so they were like, why aren't you dating? Why don't you have a boyfriend? Like, don't you want to get married? Blah, 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 blah. But my rebuttal to that has always been like, I would rather find the right person than regret it in the future. I was always like, yeah, I can get married. I knew my self-worth. Like, I can date somebody. I can have a boyfriend. I can get married. Yeah. But I'm like, would you want me to just get a divorce down the line because I settled for someone who wasn't making me happy?
Even worse, potentially bring a child into this world with someone who isn't the person that I should be with.
And I think now at least I feel like there's still a bit of a buffer. They say like, okay, fertility drops at like 35 significantly. So like, I don't know, maybe I haven't felt that pressure. I would rather be with the right person. Yeah. Did you feel pressure from your parents to get married? Because you had been together for a pretty long period of time at that point.
Yeah. So maybe going back to this idea that my parents are actually relatively conservative. Yeah. And even
forced not to be in COVID.
Forced not to be, but that was like an exceptional case. So during COVID, Tom had moved to Asia at that point.
From the US.
From the US. And ended up having to live with my family. And this is like me, Tom, my parents, my brother, and his now wife, then girlfriend, in a 3-bedroom apartment that had very little privacy and sort of, what do you call it?
Soundproofing. Pretty new relationships.
All relatively new. I was
Except
dating
for your parents,
Tom.
but like,
yeah, but I was dating Tom for like a year at that point, right? And like, I think for them, they knew that this was different, but also we're not married yet.
And it's like distance is like the first time you're
we went from
proximity.
We went from long distance to no distance with anyone in my family. So it was, I think, jarring for everyone involved. And this was the case for over a year. Yeah. And so prior to that, when like Tom and I would go on trips together, my parents would still push back and say like, you can't, share a bed, you can't like stay in the same room. And so I think the pressure came more from them wanting to be out of that mindset and tension themselves. Like they were like, okay, if you're married, we don't have to ask you these questions anymore, and we don't have to like feel this way. So it wasn't a pressure to get married because of a certain timeline or because we've been together X number of years. It's just there was clear discomfort when it came to some of the things that Tom and I were doing in our normal modern relationship that they just wanted not to feel that way anymore. And so there was pressure from that perspective, but nothing timeline-wise. Yeah, and I think I was also young enough at that point that I didn't have to think too much about biological clock and like fertility and things like that. And so I'm actually really grateful that for the most part, like in terms of the timeline that I had when I was, I don't know, in my early 20s to like what is actually realized, I'm not that far off, for better or worse. Yeah. And I feel like I'm with the right person. We've talked about singlehood versus being in a relationship. Where are we now?
Wait. But I feel like you never shared your singlehood. How did you feel? How did you venture? How did you...
So actually, interestingly, I was reflecting on this as you were talking about your many stable relationships before this one. I was the opposite. I feel like all of my relationships before Tom, not stable and not very mature or long-lasting. The longest relationship I had before this one was 6 months.
Yeah. It was a joke that Amanda's breakups lasted longer than the relationship.
I was single way more than I was in a relationship.
But she was like in
situationships,
figuring out thing with the people that she had relationships with for like the longest time.
Yeah. My first few relationships it was really hard for me to recognize my self-worth in love and in relationships, because actually in all of those situations, exes fact check me if I'm getting this wrong, but at least from like my POV, it felt like I was liked first. So like they liked me before I liked them, and then I grew to like them.
Okay, because they put in the effort.
Because they put in the effort, they expressed it, and then at some point in this very short-lived relationship we had, things would just switch. Like something would switch, and they would go from like really liking me to like feeling very lukewarm.
Like once they found out that like you liked them back, they were like,
oh,
chase is over.
Yeah.
Guys are so stupid.
Yeah, and I was still
Stupid.
Yeah, and I was still so emotionally invested in all of these people at that point. I came out of, I think, every single relationship thinking like there must be something wrong with me that I give such a great first impression.
Yeah.
And, you know, these people seem to really, really like me up front. And then when they get to know me, for some reason, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't for me. Like, you're not for me.
Yeah.
And I think function of age as well. I think a lot of them were not able to articulate really why. And so I was sitting there, I'd be left sitting there thinking like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
I think that's why it was so difficult to get over a lot of these guys.
Did you have this learning right after your last one with Tom, or do you think if there was another one you would have been in this cycle, but Tom helped you learn and figure this out, you know, and heal from those past trauma, because he never gave you the room to question your self-worth.
No. Tom was always so consistent and clear about how he felt.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think I learned a lot in the relationship just before Tom, because that was the first relationship that I initiated the breakup in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because the relationship itself was outright bad. Actually, it felt like a lukewarm thing that I was so invested in that this other person was less invested in. And again, this is like purely from my perspective how it felt. In that relationship, felt like he likely wouldn't break up with me over something that is fine, but it didn't feel right for me.
Yeah.
And so I think for me to walk away from that relationship meant a lot. And it kind of was very symbolic of like, I'm not going to take lukewarm, or I like really don't want to settle anymore.
Yeah.
I also don't want to be in this relationship that feels so one-sided.
Yeah.
And like where I'm constantly second-guessing myself and second-guessing how this person feels about me because of something I may or may not have done. Like, it just felt like too tiring of a loop. And so I remember I was single for a year after that relationship. And at this point, I had just met Tom.
Yeah.
And purely like in a friend capacity. And in that year of friendship, Tom was already so consistent and curious and supportive. I think very quickly I was like, this is very different. And all of this stuff around dropping your ego and being shameless and wearing your heart on your sleeve felt much more natural. And so, that's my relationship arc.
Nice. Proud of you for realizing that in your mid-20s. A lot of reflection. I
remember in especially my college relationship, you talking to me in a, like, you deserve more than this, too.
Yeah.
Actually, my high school relationship and my college relationship. Oh my God, my high school relationship, so funny. Mon held an intervention for me and she cried. And this is the first time I'd ever seen Monica cry. And she was crying because she was so sad for me.
I was that friend. So I think I was also shocked at myself that I wouldn't allow my friends to go through what I was going through. So it's like, why could I dish it so easily but not take my own advice that well? I think for the long time I was mad at myself for that. Yeah.
But it's hard.
it's hard,
It's hard
when
to
you're in
take
it.
your own
and
advice.
I think if you have friends that are going through it, like honestly, there's nothing that you can do to like smack it in their head. They really have to come to that realization themselves, is my take on those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you kind of gave me room for. Like you gave your POV, but you weren't like so pushy on it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but I would actually sort of coordinate with our 2 other besties.
Stop.
Yeah. So that we wouldn't overwhelm you all at the same time.
What?
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. So I'd be like, okay, I think like Monica needs a break from me right now. And so
Wow.
if you
Was
want to
I?
tap in, yeah. I think it would have been a lot if like
Okay, so I
on
think-
one of these downturns we're all like a combination of slamming you, supporting, like it's a lot.
No, but generally sometimes I think that you think I don't respond because I'm like annoyed by it. I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah.
But it was never that. It was generally because I don't have the answer. Like I feel like I can't respond to you with a satisfactory answer that I would be satisfied with.
Yeah.
Like at that point my answer would be like, I don't know, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So I would just not respond because I'm like, this takes brain power for me to
I mean,
respond
it's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we were like, okay, I think my approach is not
Yeah.
working right now, or like I'm saying a bit too much. So, Jessie, you go.
Stop.
You go like check in on her in the next couple days.
Oh.
Yeah.
Guys.
And then
I
Audie
didn't
was
know that.
involved. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We had to take turns.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
That's what friends are for. Yeah, I guess I can speak a little bit more about my relationship with Tom
In your
between
20s
20s and 30s.
I mean, this is relationship in your 20s versus 30s, so how
Yeah,
has that
yeah.
changed?
Situationally, like many couples, like arguably all couples, right? We've had like some really tough things to navigate,
Yeah.
actually, right? Like we navigated long distance,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he moved over
Yeah.
to this completely new part of the world, new city, no friends,
Mm-hmm.
no community, right? That was not only tough on him, but also tough on our relationship. And there were challenges around that. Like, we've both had huge job transitions
Yeah.
that we've had to navigate. We've had family shit, mental health challenges that
Yeah.
we've had to overcome and still like come up every now and then, right? So it's not like things have been smooth sailing through the entire relationship. But I think what has really changed, especially in the last couple years in marriage, is we give each other a lot more room to sort of ebb and flow.
Okay.
And there isn't as much needing to control or needing to problem solve or needing to fix one another. And that was a really big lesson, I think, especially for me, because whenever I saw Tom in a tough situation, career-wise,
Yeah.
mentally, missing family, whatever it was, like my instinct would always be to fix and to problem solve and to jump in and like make sure that he's okay. One of my family friends sent me at the time I thought it was just a poem, but it was an excerpt from a really long book called The Prophet. This phrase of finding space in our togetherness was like really stood out for me.
Yeah.
And so my exact vow, which I think still holds true and probably my most important vow that I made actually was let there be space in our togetherness. Let the winds of the heavens dance between us. Let's give our hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain our hearts. Let's stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. So we're together, but we have to give each other room
Yeah.
to grow and learn things, and that's also a part of partnership.
Yeah.
That I think in my 20s, especially coming from a long distance relationship, I didn't really understand. Like I just like clung on to him for everything. And I think that push and pull between independence and togetherness is really important. So that's the biggest shift, I think,
Yeah.
for me. So that's where I am at. You should share.
Where am I at? It's very fresh.
Yeah.
And this, I joke about it. I'm like, it may not age well.
We're optimistic about this
We're
one, though.
optimistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm in something that is actually very calming, secure, safe. I don't have to question. And I think what a lot of people believe is that like they have to be healed before going into a relationship. But I feel like being with this person, he healed a lot in a short amount of time. Yeah, without like...
Those are very big words. I hope you're
Okay,
listening to this.
Yeah. I feel like for the longest time I accepted, again, less than the bare minimum. And I would question these things to him, like, why would you want to commit with somebody so far? Like, what is this? What is that? You know, and like his answer, every question that I had was so reassuring and so consistent that I'm like, I don't think I have to question myself for it ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love that.
So, yeah.
We love that for you. I think actually Monica at the very beginning of this episode talked about how she kind of waits for people to find out about her relationships. Like she's not, there isn't this like eagerness to share and introduce and all of that. And I think that, just at least that, feels very different in this relationship, because you're wanting to talk about him and share him and introduce him.
I really want him to hang with us.
Yeah.
I think he would do well. We would all gel well.
Yeah, and that's what we want. And I think it's a good sign. Yeah, so we are optimistic about this one. And I'll just leave it at that, because I haven't met him and properly interrogated him.
But yeah, I think that's relationship in our 20s and 30s. I think, you know, for those who are single or still unsure of themselves in relationships, I feel like in your 30s, maybe I'm biased, is a great time because you normally are more secure with yourself. You know more about what you want. You're not just trying to follow the inherited definition of love that you were fed, either from your family or from, you know, movies or whatever. Like you've had time and enough life experience to decipher like what's for you and what's not.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I hope, I mean, we kind of meandered a lot, to be honest, this episode. And it does feel like a more vulnerable conversation than we've had previously. And so, whatever we've talked about, hopefully you've learned something about yourself. Hopefully we've helped you in some way. If anything, hopefully we shared some good stories for you and you're entertained by this. But thanks for hanging with us today.